Hello, this is Alejandro Bratti from Believe in Yourself, Believe in Your Business, and welcome to the Spanglish World Network on Single TV channel 250. Please remember to download a Single TV app on the respective app stores on iOS and Android devices. While you download, please make sure you rate and leave a comment. The app is free. Single TV is available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire TV sticks, Roku, and all smart TVs. Today we have how do you say it, Eduardo? You have a new when you are in baseball and you create a new guy that is going to
We have uh, as emergent player.
exactly. So thank you, Eduardo, for being available today to have this discussion today. I am really happy that everything happens for something, and I am happy that you are here with us today. We are going to have a very good interview. People, if you really want to know more about all the things that Eduardo is doing, is really amazing. So let's start with that, Eduardo. What are you doing now? What are the things that you are doing?
So many things from what we do here in Spanglish, Spanglish World Networks, Spanglish Sports World, and Hair Network, bringing a better understanding of our world to our audience. Shows like yours that inform people on how to create business and how to promote their business properly. Uh, and shows about sport, commentaries on sport by former and amazing journalists uh, that do a great job reporting. They don't looking at the human side of the game,
Mm.
every game. And from the IT side, as you know, I have my IT company, and basically what we do is help our customers get a better understanding of how can they modernize their business so that they have a global reach, and that's the essence of what we do. I am a speaker at many conferences around the world in the IT field, specialized in the cybersecurity and modern and digitalization side of IT.
Mm. That is really good, and I know that we're going to go deep there because I have some questions on the thing that you have been doing lately. That is really amazing. So, but let's go back to understand who is Eduardo. Where are you coming from? What happened in order to start to believe in yourself? So I know that when we hear about the thing that you are doing, the first thing is like, oh, that is unreachable. You have three channels that you have created, three networks. You have this IT that is global and is working with people that it's in a lot of places, including football and including soccer, including a lot of things around the world. So, but that's not where you started. That's not something that okay you believe when you were 10 years old that that was going to happen. So who is Eduardo and what happened in the middle to start to become that person that you are right now?
So I think that my life really started, and we come thank I want to say that it's an honor to be with another person that is from Guatemala on the air, because I think Guatemala was the birth of all of everything for me. I was born in Guatemala City. I grew up there, went to school, but Guatemala is a country that makes you realize that you have to set goals. And uh,
Mm.
and I grew up in a family. My great grandfather was a rabbi in Guatemala, but he owned a business because he had to maintain himself somehow. Religion doesn't pay, as they say. Uh,
Yeah.
so so he opened a business, a shoe store, in the middle of the downtown core of Guatemala, or what was the downtown core of Guatemala. It's no longer. Uh, and I quickly learned how to follow, create a goal for myself where I wanted to go. Uh, but I was a very, how can I say, inquisitive child. I didn't like to do the conventional ways of learning, so I I have always been very relation oriented person, and in Guatemala, that's something that is not normal in a customer relationship between an employee and an owner.
Yeah.
To me, people are give you the best when they can trust you, and that's one of the things that I learned from my family and from dealing with people from an early age.
And I like that part a lot, and I know that that was the part that where we connected. Really, we connected. You are from Guatemala, I am from Guatemala, but I was looking for people in Toronto, and suddenly we have a conversation. And it's like, oh, we are from Guatemala, and we started to talk, like, because we don't have any tie or anything that it's between us. That okay, I know this guy. Of course, we start to talk, and it's like we know some people in common, but at the beginning we didn't know anything. And something that I see in you that is very good is exactly that part, how to develop your human skills, and how you have developed those human skills to really connect with the people that you are working, your customers, your people inside your business, and everything. So tell me, in that regards, what do you think has helped you most to really be like aware this is something that I really want to do, and not be that boss that is like, okay, these are the goals and this is the only thing that I care, and I don't care about you, I care about the goals. What happened to really start to think about that? And that way it's like at the end it's a balance. It's not something that on not only goals, not only people, it's a balance. But how you found that balance?
So it's very interesting because I I came to Canada as a result of a very bad situation in my family. Uh, I came through because my mother was kidnapped in Guatemala, so we came to Canada that way
Mm,
for a very hard situation. But when I got here, it was the idea that you have to create new relations. I was a young kid of 14 years old when I arrived here, and I had to create 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 friends again from scratch.
mm,
And I think that my experience in Guatemala in making those friendships helped me out here, because when I got into high school, the first thing I did was join every sports team that I could find under the face of the earth. And I played basketball, I played soccer, I played baseball, uh, and I was involved in the school's all the debating club and the social clubs of the school, so that I could develop and create those friendships and future right now. Not just I create those friendships in high school, but now they are business partners with me in some sort of way.
mm.
And some of those people open my horizons to other areas. I have been involved in politics in Canada for the last since I was 15 years old, uh,
Wow.
and that created relationships. I have always been intrigued by creating relationships, and not just at the local, let's say, with immediate friends or colleagues, but also in the my intuition always said get involved with government or with con- the consulars or the embassies of the countries to learn more about what's out there. And I have always been a very global guy, so I became friends with the consul generals of the consulates of Latin America to start with, and I started getting introduced to Europeans and to Asians, and I started learn adapting to their cultures
Mm.
to learn more about the ways they worked.
Wow.
And that really brought something into me.
And what do you think helped you think that way? Because that is not some, or you think that that was nature and that's exactly who you were. But
No,
how was that?
they and I go back to Guatemala again because we grew up in a country that was very diverse.
Mm.
Guatemala has every culture under the face of the earth, that you don't see them very segmented, but there is always someone from that culture. I used to go to a in Guatemala. I went to a German school. In Guatemala, I went to to an American style school. So I started learning about cultures from very
Mm.
early in my
Mm.
life,
Mm.
and being Jewish as well. It helped out doing other things.
Mm.
So my my great grandfather, may he rest in peace. He was a like very wise man, and he told me, never stick to one area because you will exhaust it.
Mm.
Always expand yourself, and always create relationships that will last.
Mm.
And I think he was the person that gave me a lot of my much my relations and how to create those relations.
Wow, that is really cool because it's so important, and I like that because I have my little kids going to a school that is also culturally learning German and other stuff, and it's like you can see that when you start to open your eyes that the world is one and you can be everywhere and you can be having this discussion with people from around the world, so suddenly it's like wow, this is something that we can be doing. So i I like a lot that part and how you started since a kid. Suddenly that's natural for you always. So in regards of the trauma that you needed to go when you needed to move at 14 years old, like you have your own life, you are in Guatemala having your life, you have your friends, you have your area of comfort. How do you, when you moved to that to Toronto, how was that process of really
You,
like okay, I have to understand now, I have to grow, I have to connect with new people? How was that process?
yeah, and it was tough because it was my mom, my brother, who was at the time 4 years old,
Mm.
and myself. And the assimilation process in North America is a different lifestyle. They are not very accustomed to get involved with people, and especially in the 1980s when we arrived in Canada. It was people looked at you like, "Are you talking to me? Uh, why are you talking to me? I didn't ask. I didn't speak to you." And to me, didn't feel natural. And I always, you know, I would come home and say, "Oh, you know what? The kids in the school don't seem to want to get become my friends."
Mm.
It wasn't that I had changed, but that I didn't understand the way things work. Once I started socializing through sport, or socializing through different activities in the school, then it became then they started to accept me. And especially when I got into debating, because in the when you start in a debating club and start talking about global issues with people that don't understand the regions of the world,
Mm.
and they start listening to my experiences coming from Latin America, and we are debating about, should ONGs receive more subsidies from governments in the first world. They start going, but we have been told that this is like this. Yeah, you have been told that because they don't want to show you the reality of life,
Mm,
that people don't live the way they say they. And I remember very, 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 uh, when Guatemala had its second earthquake, in 82, 83,
mm,
that the news here were transmitting the news in the wrong way. It scared people off. They showed people without food in the streets, digging through the garbage. And I said, that's not right, because that doesn't happen. People don't look through the garbage bins to, to eat in Guatemala.
yeah,
And I had to go to my friends and say, look, whatever you see on TV, believe believe only 5% of it,
mm,
because it's not the reality of the country.
yeah.
And I think that create a group of friends in both the scholastic way and in the sports way, and it gave me two different worlds to deal with.
And I am going to stop you here quickly because I want to emphasize that part that you are saying right now. For example, when I and I am going to give you an example even from myself. I have two little kids. One is 4 years old and the other one is 2 years old. But the kid of 4 years old, when he entered school last year, he stayed like 4 months without speaking with anybody because he's coming starting school after COVID, after connecting with anybody, after having and I'm talking about a kid of 4 years old that is like, I don't know anything that is happening in the world, but right now I am used to be 2 years in my home and not getting out. So suddenly the human's skills and the social skills that he had was really really bad. So what we are saying right now is like how you started to connect is like, okay, I didn't understand how to connect to that world. It's completely different from what I knew in Guatemala. And I see the same thing in my little kid. It was happening the same thing. Like he couldn't connect, he couldn't talk with anybody, and he was like, okay, I'm going to stay here. Uh, the thing is that you did what we did as parents with him. We decided to put him in different things at the same time. Let's help him to be in different sports, in different things that he can be playing and having more social activities with kids. And suddenly, that if you see that Daniel from the beginning and that Daniel from now is completely another person. He's freely talking with anybody. He's freely being himself without any all the fears that we can have. So why I am telling this story is because I want to be emphasizing what you are saying. You have the belief system that you can have it like, okay, I know how to connect with these persons this way. Suddenly you are moved to another place where you need to learn how to do it. And when you move to that place, suddenly you start to learn, okay, I don't understand how they are thinking. Let's do sports. Let's do this. Let's connect with these other groups. Let's explain them how is Guatemala, how is different things, how communication is different in different places. And suddenly you start to connect with everyone. And I want to give that to the people that are listening to us because that is key in order to start to connect. What is the perspective that you have? What is the perspective that the other has? If the other has a different perspective, maybe you are not connecting and you are like, I don't know why I don't see what they are seeing and they don't see what I'm seeing. Start to see how they see the world, and suddenly you can connect and start to create relationships. So that is really powerful, Eduardo.
Yeah, it's funny because it that system of creating friends and creating different relationships helped me in the future, because I now I understood different cultures and how to
Mm,
look at the way they think.
yeah.
Everybody, we all have our own ways of working, ways of relating, especially when you go from one continent to the next. It's really, really interesting. because and we'll discuss that in a little bit later. But so for continuing, when I went to university, so I now I'm in high school here. I arrived with age 14, and all of a sudden I get into high school, and I am tested to see where in the at what level I would go into school.
Mm,
In normally in Canada, when you are about 14, 15 years old, you are in grade 9, which would be for Latin America, in uh, probably at grade 8 level.
mm,
Uh, uh,
yeah.
in, Actually, second year of high school in Latin America. But our level of, especially Guatemalan education, which and in the private schools particularly, uh, it's so high because we are used to a European standard or an American, not so much the American standard, but the European standards that are so high, and our passing grades are not at 50% like they are here. They are at 70 or 80%. So I was one, and I am not going to say I was a good student in Guatemala because I wasn't. I I probably were sent to reparations more often than none.
Mm,
Uh, I had to go. I had to go through summer school every single year that I went to high school in Guatemala and in public school. But when I got here, I was one of the smart ones. Why? Because we had a passing grade that was way higher, which
mm,
here was an A level,
mm.
and so they made me entrance exams to see where I would land. I ended up being at the level of finishing high school here at age 15.
Wow.
So technically, at age 15, I was already at higher level. So I did 1 year of high school technically here in Canada, and I graduated. And I went to university at 16,
Wow.
which is create another problem when I enter university because
You are too young.
who's this little kid that is in a classroom taking subjects that he's not supposed to know.
Mm,
And then I had to relate to kids that were 19, 20 years old at age 16. So that was another apprentice level of learning how to relate to them.
and do you see an impact that happened in you at the beginning? Like, how was the shock?
Oh, it was a shock. Like, I mean, when I went to university, the first years of university were very hard because technically I had at the most two friends that I
Mm,
created in university because I couldn't. This time around, I could not join sports teams because I was too young.
yeah, that was going to be my next question. Exactly that.
I was too young. I couldn't join the let's say the debating team or scholastic teams or science clubs or stuff like that because I was also too young. And these guys went out to drink, to
And you
party.
can drink because you are too young.
Young.
So-
So I ended up being segregated. I had a group of two or three friends that I got involved. So then I started getting involved in organizations, youth organizations in Toronto, so that it would supply me that empty space that I had from university.
Mm. And how long you had to be like that? The 2 years from 16 to 18, or how?
Correct. From about 2 years, and it was interesting
Yeah.
because it gave me an opportunity to do stuff in the city. I worked as a camp counselor in. I was at 16 working as a camp counselor for kids in the rural areas of the city, and I started engaging with communities that I would never have access to.
Mm.
Uh, otherwise.
And why was that? How you started to do that?
I applied for a job with the city of Toronto as a
Mm,
camp counselor, and basically they allowed me. I was in the Parks and Recreation department. I was a lifeguard at a pool. Then they in midsummer they changed me and they said, you know what, we want you to expand yourself, and we're going to put you as a camp counselor in to do a lot of activities with the kids, not
mm,
just not just the swimming side. So with one of the camps, when I was about I probably was about 17 years old, 18
yeah.
years, almost 18, happened to be that the camp where the community center where I was placed in didn't have a baseball field. So
Mm,
with the help of and the city said, we will give you all the stuff that you need to build the baseball field, but we can build it for you. So what did I do? I spoke to the parents of the kids, and I with the with kids that were 9, 10, and 11 years old, we built a field so that they could play on
wow.
in the park.
No, this is really interesting because, and really, once again, the idea, if you start to hear behind of what Eduardo is saying, is exactly how you can develop your human skills, how you can develop exactly all these soft skills that are wrongly called, I prefer to say power skills, because, okay, you are in front of something that is a problem, and you can decide, okay, I stop and I am not going to do anything with that, and because I'm 16, I'm going to stay at home and only study, and that's it, because I am supposed to be doing only that. But he's coming from a high school of being active, and the way that helped him to connect to the world in Toronto was to start to connect with sport, with different areas, and suddenly he doesn't have anything to do, and how he can start to think, I have to continue doing that, I have to learn how to connect again. And that is a skill that you continue developing, and I am emphasizing that again because that's exactly what happens. Now I'm going to be entering a little bit to understand how that move you to help you to think in business side, and the thing that you are doing in business, because it's like, okay, you have challenges, you have problems, and you have to start to think like ways outside the box, how you can start to connect again and how to create something again. I know that, for example, the networks for you were an outside thinking of, okay, we are in COVID, we are locked down, we can do anything. Let's find a way to continue growing and doing what I am doing, what I am used to be doing, and creating my purpose. And suddenly, like, okay, let's create a network. A little thing like a network. But if you think about that, how Eduardo was thinking like that, the first thing is he has been developing and working those skills since he was young.
Yeah, I mean, and we'll dive right now into that because I think that the idea of understanding. So I finished my university by age. I was 19 years old when I finished university. So I was ahead of the curve, uh, and I started working in the real field, in the field of you know of IT. Technically, I didn't graduate in IT, but my background was on finance and marketing, and I started working with what we call a penny stock company, companies that do research into new technologies, into new areas of expansion for for big companies. And I ended up starting to do a feasibility study to see if it was a viable solution to create a new technology. And as I go down to Florida to investigate for the company's client, I start they start seeing that I am very intrigued by technology, and that
Mm,
I have a lot of resources that I'm using that normal people don't use. Why? Because one of the things that when I was in university and I did my thesis statement, my thesis project for to graduate, my professor hooked me up at the University of Michigan with access to the Library of Congress in the US.
mm,
And I started investigating about the thesis statement. And, and for some odd reason, the university forgot to take my access away, and I continued using it. When
mm,
I went to my client and they said, "How do you have access to the Library of Congress? Nobody has access to the Library of Congress unless you are a politician
yeah.
or you work for the government." And I explained to them how I have it. And they said, "So what are you trying to find there about us?" I said, "No, I'm not trying to find about you. I'm trying to see how the government has been researching what you guys are doing and how they will regulate it so that I can give you a better understanding if it's economically safe to invest in it."
Wow.
And the guys said, "So you like IT?" So I said, "No, I don't like IT. I like looking at numbers. I like looking at the market. That's my area of expertise." And they go, "Oh, okay, so why don't you come to work for us?" And all of a sudden, you know, I started getting a job opportunity in the US and live in Canada for the US. And I went from being a analyst to being a sales manager to guiding a whole department in Florida for WorldCom, and expanding into the Latin American markets because they didn't have anyone that knew the Latin American markets and how the idiosyncrasy of those countries and those people were. So I started teaching my staff, my sales staff, how to relate to other cultures when I wasn't an expert at it. But you know, the idea that I create friends and I like to move and I socialize. I told them what you have to, and I always said this to anybody that works with me or anyone that asks me, that the main rule in sales, and I don't call it sales, I call it relationship building because
Yeah.
that's what sales are, is understanding and gaining the the trust of who you're talking to. Don't talk about the product because the product sells itself. Talk about you, talk about them, understand them, where they are coming from. And
Mm.
that's how you build a proper market.
And that is, it's like we were planning about this, Eduardo, because tomorrow we are having an event. It's a workshop that we are going to be doing, and it's incredible because that workshop is exactly about that, how to create clients. And it's not about how to sell, how to do a lead generation, how to uh, sell your products. It's about how to create clients. And the first thing that you need to know is you need to create relationships. It's not about selling to them, it's about creating a relationship. And that's exactly what you are talking. And so I am like, wow, this is incredible. You are talking about the same thing. Is what are the secrets? And don't start to be thinking about, okay, I have to sell, and suddenly you can sell because you are blocked because of that. But if you start to think like how I can start to create a relationships and create that, everything changes. So that's what you are talking, and I am really amazed about that because we didn't plan about this today.
No, I mean, and I'll give you a clear example. When I was working with AT&T in the US, they said they asked me if I wanted to go to Qatar because there was a project in Qatar that they wanted to deal with. They had to deal with, and I said, "Look, I don't think it's the proper place for me to go to considering that uh, it's a Muslim country to start with. Nothing against the Muslim community. I have friends in the Muslim community all over the place, but at that time in the 90s, it was a very rough relationship between Jews and Muslims. So
Yeah.
for a Jewish guy to go into Qatar, a country that was very much out there, saying uh, that they, we weren't liked. It wasn't safe. So my boss said, "Look, go. If you find that you are having a hard time, come back. There is no problem." And I went. I went with an open mind.
Mm.
We were working directly for the Emir of Qatar at that time, and it was funny because he wanted to meet the guy that came from the AT&T in the US to guide his projects, to understand the background of what they wanted to build. And he invites me to dinner, and he looks at me and he goes, "You are Arabic?" I said, "I have a background from the Arabic community, yes." He looks at my name and my last name, and he goes, "But there's a lot of Hararis around here." And I said, "Yes, most there has to be. We are a big family." And we started talking, and he goes, "Why are you so reserved?" I said, "Look, I have to be very open with you. I am Jewish. My family originally comes from Haleb in Syria." He goes, "I knew you had a Arabic background," and I said, "Yeah, it you know it's something that I'm proud of. The idea that I come from a family that comes from the Middle East and that survived through the Middle East in many through many turmoils." And we started talking about now we started talking about religion with the Emir, and him giving me and I said, "Look, I have a philosophy in life, is that we are we come from the same patriarch, and that's Abraham. Whether you come
The
from
Arabic or the Jewish at the
your
end.
side, we are the same. We are cousins." And I don't disrespect have your beliefs. We have our beliefs, and I think we can get to a middle point. And if you and me can talk, anybody can talk. And he started asking me about my background and everything. The next time that they had a project, when they called AT&T, they said, "Send me a Jewish guy." And it
Oh,
was funny because my boss said, "He called you the Jewish guy. Did you tell him that you were Jewish?" So I said, "Yeah." We spoke in Arabic about different beliefs and different systems and this and that. And he was laughing. He was laughing. My boss was completely laughing. And I come up to I come back to Canada, and I start working. But to me, the corporate environment wasn't clicking with me because I had to leave projects in the hands of others and away from my relations, the relations that I created. So I came back to Canada, and all of a sudden I said, "You know what? If I can do it there, why can I do it on my own?" And I said, "Let me try it on my own for 6 months to a year and see if I can make ends meet." And I started calling all the customers that I had relationships with, and they said, "Yeah, we would love for you to manage our relationships with the vendors. We will. It's better for us for you to do it than for us to do it because we are not happy with the guy that replaced you."
wow.
So it started evolving. I I have customers all over the world. In Japan, one of the is one of my main countries where I have a lot of clients, and getting understanding that how business works in Japan and how family oriented they are with their employees. It was something that brought back to the reality to me. And when I started employing people, I said, "You're not my employees; you're my family, and this is the way we are going to guide it. Anything that is anything that you need, I am here for you. Anything that we do together.
Mm.
No one oversteps the boundaries."
And how was the loyalty that you developed and that you started to see with your the people that was working for you, and you are talking about a moment that you were not the boss, you were only the manager. So as a manager, when you do that, what was the process, how it started to happen with the people that you were managing?
So the and I had a couple opportunities during my stints at WorldCom, Bell Canada, and AT&T, where they didn't understand my management ways, because I kept telling them, if you get involved in your subordinates' life, understanding what they are going through, that's how much potential you will get out of them, because they will see that you are not just about the bottom line, you're about them. And the human side to me of any employee or any person that you relate with, that's what gets you to the next step. uh, it's I ha- I think that in the if I look at the long run of since I started my company in IT, World Wireless Solutions, is that I we have been remote all the time, since the creation. We had an office where we met on a monthly basis or on a weekly basis sometimes, but it was mostly to bring the clients in, to show them that we had some an office that they could they could relate to, that we were a company, we weren't just individuals.
Mm.
But the reality is, I have right now over 2,500 employees scattered all over the world, which which is not normal. I mean, you don't see IT consulting firms with 2,500 employees, and that and no and the funny part is that the way I create my relationships with my clients, it's even better, because they technically are my partners, because they pay my employees. I don't pay them.
Yeah.
So to get to a point that the company that the client that you are working for agrees that they are going to pay your payroll for you, doesn't exist.
Mm. It's a different mindset at the end, the
Yeah.
way.
And they are seeing the results of the great management, the idea of being a family oriented organization, that the employees that I placed in their buildings work 10 times harder than the ones that they hired on their own,
Mm.
because they know that they will be taken care of no matter what, and that you will fight for them to be okay.
And once again, this is part of the human skills, and what we are seeing is the belief system that you created and how you started to create that from since the beginning, like understanding the culture in Guatemala, moving to Toronto, moving to from the school to the high school, I started to understand in the university what happens. So I start to see really how that process started to create in your mind, like that all those beliefs to really create this global company that you are leading right now, that is helping even customers start to see that, like how they can connect. And really, once again, what I am trying to say here, to everybody that is listening, is start to see how your belief system is going to be the one that is going to help you to go up or go down depending on what are you going through. So in regards of that, Eduardo, just maybe one final question because we are at the end of almost the show today. But if you say to me what is right now the biggest struggle that you are going through right now, that it's like, okay, I am working in myself on this because I realize that I need to change this. Do you have something to share about that right now?
So I think that, and it's not from the IT side, it's from the television side, from my media side. I think that I have so many things in my head that I'm trying to, projects that I'm trying to start. And especially because the media side is my way of giving back to the industry. Uh, I, aside from, like I said, I have two sides to my life. I have the sports side and the business side. And in the sports side, I know how difficult it has been for was for me to enter that industry. But I most of the people that I have in within the television area are students that need that experience, to gain that experience so that they understand what they are getting into. Uh, and it has been very difficult because we are growing so fast right now. We went from 700 viewers. We are now, last week, the numbers that came from last week from our partner station, Single TV, is that we are all already reaching 1.5 million people
Wow.
without a lot of work. We have put in a lot of work as a team, but we have not noticed the amount of work that we have been putting in because we enjoy what we are doing,
Mm,
and it's incredible to say that three channels that were nothing when it started are now a vision for what it can be. And we had there have been offers for someone to buy me out, and I don't want that, because the first thing that I ask, when how are you going to manage the business? And when they tell me, well, we have to put our people in there and this and that, I said, are the people that are currently working in the stations are going to remain there? And when they, as soon as they say, well, we'll have to analyze, I said, no, there is no analyzation. There, it's not for sale,
mm,
because I have grown with you guys, uh, is part of my life, and you guys are part of my family. So I will not allow anybody to take that away.
mm,
And that's the main part, and I think that that's the biggest struggle that I have right now. That I wanted to grow, but I have to channel everything the proper way.
mm.
And because I don't sleep anymore, I think that's the
That's
integral
the issue.
problem.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree, and that the idea behind is really how we can connect. And thank you, Eduardo, for doing this. Thank you for being today also, sharing your story, because I believe it's amazing and it's giving us a lot of nuggets of wisdom that you can take, even from what your grandfather told you. To really have different eggs and have them apart and connect with people. Everything is about relations, and how you really have been managing your life like that and connecting with different people and helping some and connecting with others. So this was a really good story, and not only story, but really good lesson to learn, and how to apply ourselves and become a family. So I know that I am part of your family with this program that we have here, and I feel it like that also. So that's something that at the end, what Eduardo is saying is exactly what he's preaching, and he is doing, and I can say it from my side also. So thank you for this, and thank you everyone that is listening to us. The idea here is really to help you to grow. The idea about this program is believe in yourself. Is like, what is the belief system that you have? If you're not believing in yourself, you are not going to be able to go far. But if you want to go far, you need to start to believe in yourself. You have to know what are the things that you are believing in yourself that are stopping you, and which things are helping you to grow. So, thank you, Eduardo. It was an amazing program. Do you want to say a last word or a last uh, thing just to close the program today?
Yeah, I think that what you are bringing forth is a great idea, because whatever belief system you have will guide you through everything in life. Uh, and the only thing I can say is don't get down on yourself, because that only stops what should happen uh, straight out. Uh, if you feel that you are not capable, it's not because you are not capable. It's because you lower your standard, lower idea of who you are internally to try to achieve something else. So always believe in yourself, because that will take you to the outmost outreach of the world.
And if your belief system is not working, it's not something that you can stay there. You can change it, and that's exactly what I do. That's exactly what I help, and this is exactly the reason for this program, to help you. Like, okay, not everyone was thinking big, but suddenly you can be thinking big if you start to realize that and start to change the belief system that you have right now. So you don't have to stay with what you have. You can change. You can change your star. So thank